station, Manx Radio.
This is Judith Lay welcoming you to Manx Radio and to the podcast of this week's edition of At Your Service.
Manx Radio.
A small woodland area, a large field, a tower for birds to nest, and the promise of so much more. Would it surprise you to know that you can find all this in one of the busiest parts of Douglas? It's all within walking distance of the grandstand, which is why you'll sometimes hear the hum of engines in the background as I talk with Amanda Brown and Annie Naylor. I went to meet them at St Ninian's Church, just by the Glencrutchery Road traffic lights here in Douglas, between the practices on Friday, to learn about their vision for weaving together care for creation and care for community. I've been to St Ninian's many times, but why didn't I notice just how much ground there is surrounding the church building? I'm joining Amanda and Annie at St Ninian's to see what I've been missing.
Well, you're right, Judith. It has got a lot of ground. It's not really until you come up here that you realise there's a field, but there's also a woodland area. Around the car park, there's a little woodland area as well, which is beautiful.
Annie, are we just not aware enough of what's around us generally, do you think?
I think sometimes life at the moment is very busy and we don't take time to pause and look at creation around us until we feel there's a real need to. So maybe in a time when we're feeling a bit stressed or sad, we tend to then notice things a bit more because we're searching for something. But it's there all the time for us, and it's there even when you walk through Douglas on the pavements. You can't keep nature down. It's just everywhere. As a church, we feel really strongly that God has blessed us with this beautiful planet to live on, and we are meant to be stewarding that. So we're taking that really seriously and just doing our little bit in the patch around St Ninian's. So any spaces that have got any little bit of green and nature coming through, we are really caring for, and we're going to manage it in a better way so that other plants, a variety of plants, can thrive, so we can get more of our native wildlife coming and using this precious space in the middle of an urban city, Douglas is. So it's really quite precious. So yes, we're very much going to be making sure we plant native plants that will encourage all the pollinators to come, all the birds to come then. And one of our aims is to improve the hedging so we can create some safe place for birds to nest. And that will help diversify the wildlife, but any creatures really coming in, including ourselves, because we are indeed part of nature. So we want to make it a better place for also people to come and feel the benefit of being in this wonderful green space, particularly because we're surrounded by St Ninian's High School on one side, we've got a petrol station on the other, we've got a busy main road, crossroads, which you can hear at the moment, the bikes are flying down. But there's quite a lot of terraced houses around which don't have such big gardens, so we want to open that space up for the community.
Enter the wild with care, my love, and speak the things you see. Let new names take and root and thrive and grow. And even as you travel far from heather, crag and river, may you, like the little fisher, set the stream alight with glitter. May you enter now as otter, without falter, into water. Look to the sky with care, my love, and speak the things you see. Let new names take and root and thrive and grow. And even as you journey on, past dying stars exploding like the gilded one in flight, leave your little gifts of light. And in the dead of night, my darling, find the gleaming eye of starling, like the little aviator. Sing your heart to all dark matter.
Our music today that flows through the conversations is very strongly linked not just to the theme of nature, but also to something else new that Annie and Amanda are starting. So listen out for more details later in the programme. But I believe the story of how Amanda and Annie came to be working together on this project is well worth hearing and reflecting on. Annie Naylor lives near to St Ninian's and has been a member of the church for some years. Today, Amanda Brown and her husband, pioneer minister Reverend Alex, are deeply involved in the life of St Ninian's. Reverend Alex is the co-minister there alongside Reverend Stephen Heron. But this story begins in 2024, before Alex and Amanda had anything to do with St Ninian's Church. Amanda lives with the debilitating effects of long COVID, and it's against that background that she takes up this story.
Well, we need to go back to June 24. And on that day, I wasn't feeling particularly great, and I thought, oh dear, long COVID was just a bit too much to cope with. What will I do? And I really felt God say, I want you to watch an episode of the Chelsea Flower Show. And I felt led to a particular segment of this episode. And I watched it, probably 8 or 9 times. And I thought, oh, do you know, that is so inspiring. So I had a little conversation with God. I said, God, that is amazing. I love that. And then I felt I needed to send the episode to Annie, sitting beside me here, who we weren't really in that much contact with. But I sent it off and I said, I just feel I need to send this to you, Annie. And she sent me back a reply that said, I'll watch that when I come home from my holidays. And that was it. So, and then I said to God, is there anything else that you want me to do with this? And in that instant, I found myself in my mind's eye on the top of the tower at St Ninian's, looking down on the grounds, and there's a large area that's just grass, pretty much. And I was looking at that area, and what I saw was this incredible design, and it looked like an Archibald Knox style design in the garden. It was truly beautiful, and there were so many pathways that people were wandering on. Some were sitting and being still and finding themselves just that little bit of peace in the garden. Other people were tending the garden. Everybody was busy. It was busy, but it was so incredibly peaceful and calm. And down at the bottom area, there was a place where you could sit together and eat soup from things that you'd grown. And at the top of the drive up to St Ninian's, on the building itself, there was like an old sweet shop sign, you know, the ones that swing in the wind, and it was called the Listening Room. And my heart was arrested in that moment. It felt like looking through a children's flick book, that it was that speed, and all of these images came. But in the garden, there was an element to it that looked like a heart with the earth being held in it. And I thought, goodness me, that is an incredible image. I felt a little bit overcome and thought, what do I do with that? And so I drew it out and I wrote down everything that I could see. I went down to my laptop, went on Google, and 4 pages into Google, there it was. And it was a design I had never seen before in my life. And it was this Archibald Knox, really traditional, beautiful designer of a brooch. And I thought, my goodness me, what do you do with that? So I felt in my heart that I just needed to keep it to myself and pray. And I prayed and I drew things out, and I felt quite excited about it all, but I just felt it was a time to pray. Alex and I were not at St Ninian's as our worshipping community, so I thought, oh, well, it's definitely a not now thing. So I just held it. I trusted a couple of friends to pray along with me and think things through, and then that was that, until we found out, Alex and I, that Alex was going to be one of the vicars here at St Ninian's. But I still held on to it. I didn't say anything. And then October 25, we were doing a works party outside, just tidying up the grounds. At that point, I felt really tired. I thought, oh dear, I need to go and sit down. well, where can I do a little job, still be busy, but just slow my body down? So I went to the steps and thought, I'll weed there, where I met Annie, who I'd sent the episode to and have never spoken of. And at that point, Annie stopped weeding and she turned to me and she said, Amanda, can I tell you something? And I think now you need to hear what Annie wanted to say.
So before Amanda sent me the episode, I'd had an extremely vivid dream one night. I'd been thinking about St. Ninian's and what we could do, and it felt a bit like a desert time. But this very technicolor dream happened to me that was so vivid that I cannot forget it. It felt like an episode of Gardener's World where they're going around and interviewing people, and I was one of the people that was walking around and being shown around this space. And there were people busy working in a garden. There were people alongside them who were trained listeners and listening to them, but the people were just gardening. And I carried on walking through this space. Everything felt held. It felt a nurturing space. We carried on down the bottom of the field, and there was like a polytunnel, and inside somebody was pricking out seeds. There was somebody alongside listening to them and caring and nurturing for them while they were caring and nurturing for the seeds. And it just felt the best place to be. And then I realised that I was actually walking around the grounds outside St. Ninian's Church. And so after that dream, it felt like it wasn't the right time. So I've held on to the seed in this desert until we met on the steps when we were tidying up. And I shared this with Amanda, and since then it feels like fireworks have been happening in every direction, and things have just been falling into place before us that we can hardly keep up with. But we are trying our best, and things keep happening, and it's been amazing that we both had these ideas, these seeds, and at the right time for the planting, they're starting to bloom.
So it was God giving you a vision to hold on to. You have been very ill, Amanda, and have coped amazingly well with the effects of long COVID, and everybody knows what a dreadful thing that is. Was there ever a sense you felt that God was blessing you with this to say, I have a plan for you? Was God blessing you particularly in that way, looking back, Amanda?
I think God is so good. He is so good. And even on your darkest days, there will be something, if you're looking or listening for those glimmers of light and of hope. And sometimes when you feel, with a chronic illness especially, when you feel stuck and you feel trapped and as though nothing much is changing, no matter what you do, you just feel stuck. And I think you're absolutely right. In those moments when God just drops something into your heart that gives you a picture of a could be or something for future that you could be a part of, you could be involved. Maybe I was just to be a messenger, or maybe I was going to be a part of it. I didn't know at that point, but it was enough to allow hope to rise, definitely.
Now, Annie, coming back to you, you say so much is happening.
We are still very much in the infancy, but since we met on the steps and we've got together and thought, well, we need to make this happen, we have been meeting with different organisations. We talked to Hannah from Manx Wildlife Trust, and we also talked to Anna from Manx BirdLife. We were able to talk to the Manx Bat Society, the Manx Fungi Society, and the Manx Bird Club, and they were all people that really have the same heart for nature, and these are the people we are then collaborating with. So after we'd made that first contact, we then arranged meetings with them and have made, more definite contacts, and we're definitely collaborating with them. We're hoping to get some children in from the local community of our schools to come, because Manx Wildlife Trusts are happy to come and do like a habitat survey, do a metre square and see what the children can find. So that's in our plans. But already we have our first connection with St Mary's School, which you literally walk about 10 steps down to. And they have had a year 2 year group come up and have done a bird survey with Anna and Alex from Manx BirdLife. So we've collaborated with them. We've also had Manx Woodland Trust up to give us much wisdom about our woodland and explain how we need to manage them, that we can't just leave them, that actually nature sometimes needs help. Sometimes a limb is too long and hanging over things and needs trimming back, just to create more pools of light down in the undergrowth so new plants can come up. We wanted more diversity to encourage more animals and creatures into it. So they were very helpful, and Steve Prescott at Manx Native Plants has very generously offered us some Manx native hedge like hawthorn and alder and blackthorn. He's offered to donate them to us because we want to join up around the perimeter a hedgerow for birds and all the other wildlife. We have a connection with Janet Thompson and the Manx Bird Club, who are using our tower, which is visible from all around in Douglas, to put swift boxes. So the Rainbow Scouts made the swift boxes with Guy Thompson, and then a couple of weeks back we went up with Manx Wildlife Trust and fixed the swift boxes inside the tower so that they can access them from the outside. And they've also set up a swift call, which is on a speaker, and that's timed to encourage swifts to come and nest in our tower, because like many other birds, they're under threat at the moment.
Walk through the world with care, my love, and sing the things you see. Let new names take and root and thrive and grow. And even as you stumble through Macher sands eroding, let the fern unfurl your grieving. Let the heron still your breathing. Let the silky swim you deeper. Oh, my little silver seeker. Even as the hour grows bleaker, be the singer and the speaker. And in city and in forest, let the larks become your chorus. And when every hope is gone, let the raven call you home.
Literally, the first command in the Bible, when God's talking to humans, the first thing he tells us to do is to look after creation. And then God throws all these laws in all the way through Leviticus about how we're supposed to give creation space to rest and make sure we look after not only people but also animals. There's literally laws in there because it's clearly close to God's heart. The New Testament, we read that Paul writes, the whole of creation is groaning, waiting to be liberated under Christ. So creation is there from beginning all the way through to the end. And when you get to Revelation, and there's a new heaven and a new earth, and creation is there all the way through. So looking after people and looking after creation are what humans are supposed to do. So it's not like a tag on, it's not an extra thing, it's part of the central calling of what it means to be alive, to be a human, and particularly what it means to be a person of faith. So to be able to then serve humanity and to serve nature in the same way is such a blessing. It really is.
High above the rock pool and the rock line, high above the salt marsh and the sand you're clinging on, little thrift, sing out your song. Dig in, dig in, dig in, dig in, where the macher clings and the selkie sings. Dig in, dig in, where the gannet flies under granite skies. Dig in, dig in.
I mentioned earlier that our music today is part of the creation story at St Ninian's, and we join Amanda now to find out just what that means.
On the very sacred weekend that Annie and I met on the steps and spoke of this work to look after creation, a beautiful choral work was launched that weekend. There's a lady called Jackie Morris. She's an artist and illustrator, and a man called Robert McFarlane, and they had put together a book called Lost Words, which is about words that are disappearing from the English language because people don't know them anymore. Children don't know them. Words like conker and acorn and bluebell and goldfinch. And the book is beautiful. It's like a picture book for adults and children. And Robert McFarlane has written poems with each of these words, and then they've been beautifully illustrated in watercolour by Jackie Morris. The book was a real success, but they felt in their heart that that wasn't the end of the story. And so they brought together a collaboration of musicians and said, we have these poems, could you take them away and see if they inspire songs? And from there, they did 2 albums worth of songs called Spell Songs, and they are beautiful. They're quite folky, a little bit quirky, but they're gorgeous. They're absolutely gorgeous, and they focus on these words that are disappearing. They give us a heart cry, really. Well, I guess it's the heart cry of nature, saying, please, would you care for us? What can you do to help us? So it's a beautiful work. And then in October last year, they launched a choral work of 10 of those songs. As soon as I heard, my heart just leapt, and I thought, oh, what a beautiful way for people to come together who are like-minded and like-hearted, who want to care for our island, who have that love for nature, who have that love to gather together and be community as well. And so the thought occurred that perhaps we could have a choir here based at St Ninian's, just a pop-up choir, not a permanent one. Perhaps it could be a choir that would just draw us together around nature, a celebration of nature, but also a kind of call, a clarion call really to care for it. So we approached Gareth Moore to see would he be our conductor. So he said yes, and rehearsals begin at the end of July. 1 rehearsal a month, and we will learn hopefully quite a few of the songs and work towards, let's call it a performance. Concert sounds a bit grand, doesn't it? Here at St Ninian's, that will be for the community to come and enjoy.
In fact, the music that's been running through this programme is the music that you will be singing. So have you got a date for when this starts, or do you just want people to sign up and express their interest? How do we go about that, Annie?
If you go to St Ninian's website, you can find a link that takes you to an Eventbrite, and it's a free ticket to sign up to the first event, which is on the 25th of July. And by doing that, you sign up and express an interest in it, and then the other dates will become available as we go on. So the first one is the 25th of July, and go to the St Ninian's website and click the link for get a ticket. So you're not going to pay for the ticket, it's just really, to know who's coming.
And St Ninian's website is?
stninians.im. stninians, no apostrophe, .im. And what I love about it is that, so Stephen and I, so Stephen's the co-minister here, both of us feel like our role is not that we should hold all of the strings, that actually God is going to bring about dreams and visions amongst anybody in the congregation, and our role is to enable those things to happen, which is exactly what God started to do even before we knew we were coming here. So it's a really, really exciting thing that normal, ordinary people, like these wonderful people here, are allowed to, in the economy of God, be extraordinary in every way that God knows they are. And we can draw that out of each other. It's just such a privilege to be in that space.
And show us hardship is a limit, not a feeling. Show us how to live in hope against the odds you're clinging on. Little thrift, sing out your song. High above the rock pool and the rack line, high above the salt marsh and the sand you're clinging on. Little thrift, sing out your song. Dig in, dig in. Dig in,
final word there from Pioneer Minister Reverend Alex Brown, who's co-minister of St Ninian's alongside Reverend Stephen Heron. And my thanks to Alex and to Amanda Brown and Annie Naylor for being my guests on today's programme. If you'd like to meet Amanda and Annie and look at the gardens and perhaps lend a hand, you'll find a group of folk in St Ninian's grounds every Tuesday at 1:30, working and talking, and you'll be made most welcome. And for details of everything that we've talked about today, including the music featured in the programme and details of the choir that we'll be starting, just go to the website stninians.im. That's stninians, no punctuation, .im. And we finish off with our usual look at the notice board. Union Mills Chapel have been looking after TT fans since 1960, and they're not stopping now. They say, TT fans, we've got everything you need. Watch from our brilliant location and catch every second inside, because they'll be streaming TT live throughout the day. Grab a seat for only £2, enjoy fabulous refreshments, stay connected with free Wi-Fi and relax knowing that they've got toilets and parking all sorted. Union Mill's message is simple: if the roads are closed, we are open. In Bride Church Hall, the famous TTTs will be available for 2 more days, today and tomorrow, opening each day from 11:30am till 4:30pm. Just down the road from Ballaugh Bridge, the TT Cafe in the Ballaugh Parish Hall is now open every day from 9am up to and including Friday, June the 5th, for all-day breakfasts, homemade cakes, soups, hot and cold drinks, and much more. Christchurch in Laxey are rerunning their very popular Paper Flower Festival during TT Week. The Paper Flower Festival opens today at noon after the morning service and will then be open daily from 10am to 4pm up to and including Saturday the 6th of June, with refreshments available every day. And if you want to get away from the races and have a day down south, the Abbey Church Hall in Ballasalla is serving hot and cold food and drinks between 9am and 2:30 on 3 days this week, the 1st, the 3rd and the 6th of June. Selby Methodist Church at the Crossroads in Selby Village will have their traditional Mad Sunday barbecue at 12 noon today in the church grounds, and they'll also be serving food and drinks during this race week. Every time the roads are closed for racing, Selby Methodist Church will be open. Ballakilferrick Chapel warmly welcomes locals and visitors to enjoy freshly cooked bacon baps, hot drinks and beautiful views over the south of the island. They'll be open on Wednesday the 3rd of June, Thursday the 4th and Friday the 5th, between 9:30am and 1:30pm. They'll also be showing TT-related films, there's indoor seating if it rains, and plenty of parking. Ballakilferrick Chapel is located around 1 mile north of Colby, halfway up the hill. The team at Dorby Church and Schoolrooms invite you to come and explore the wonderful West Coast, as they will once again be putting on their day of TTTs this Thursday, June the 4th. Drop by any time from 9am when there'll be bacon and sausage baps for breakfast, or come later in the morning for coffee and homemade cakes. There'll be sandwiches and homemade soups for lunch, and then delicious afternoon teas served until 4:30, with seating in the garden if the weather is fine, or indoors by the log burner if it isn't. And finally, next Saturday, it's time for Glenmay Chapel's monthly craft market. Open on Saturday from 11am to 4pm in Glenmay Chapel and Community Centre. Homemade produce, crafts and gift items, all by local artists. Free entry with homemade light lunches, bacon baps, tea, coffee and cakes on sale. Just head for Glenmay and look out for the bunting and the banners. And that's all that we have time for now. But I'll be back tonight at 9 o'clock with Sundown, and I'd love you to come and join me in our virtual lounge for our usual mix of your requests, dedications, and the very best easy listening music. But for now, this is Judith saying thank you for listening and wishing you and those you love a blessed and safe week and a very good morning.
Station.